Good morning, my friends. Welcome to Friday. Another Random Bits episode. Random Bits episodes are episodes of things I feel inspired to talk about, teach about, share about, either from my own personal life or things that I see going on. Students, clients, with my community, people on the internet, life. That's what Random Bits are about because they tend to be random. Today we're going to be talking about I statements in communication and why we do those, and then its premise, which is called personal sovereignty. So if you're new to me, welcome. I'm excited to have you here. I'm Marshall Burtcher, and I help codependents rediscover well-being and happiness after codependency by healing the trauma bond, coming to know, love, and live who they are, and create happy relationships they want to be in after codependency. So I need to share this out to the community real quick. It's your safe haven here on the internet, where you have a container in which you can explore your experience of codependency, narcissistic abuse, unavailable or avoidant relationship dynamics, and find support, find guidance, find understanding tools, and success in healing in your world. Link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube, and you can Google it. It's Thriving Beyond Codependency Community, or you can Facebook search it. Same thing. And you're welcome to join. Okay, so now I gotta share it. So I'm gonna click the buttons. Seems to be working better than it did yesterday. Yesterday seemed to be a day of fun with tech. Oh. It's alive. Okay. So again, thank you for being here. I'm excited to have you here. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, because I upload videos, trainings, tools, all sorts of stuff throughout the week, all the time. Alright, today we're going to do some cool techie stuff to help. I'm going to try a tech thing out. I'm going to give you some what's called martial art. My students are quite acquainted with my incredible art skills and stick people in lines. And so you're going to get a bit of that and helping us understand why I statements. Because I statements are, let's see, I'm going to switch this over. Ooh. Is it working? Yeah, I'm going to look and see if it's working. Oh my goodness. Did it work? Oh. Yep. It did work. Cool. All right. So I statements are a product of ownership, and this comes from a concept called personal sovereignty. So as a human being, I'm going to click the right thingies. I'm going to delete that and see if I can fix my problem. Oh, there we go. So, there. Oh, MSP. So as he's got a little zit there. So as human beings, we are autonomous first, meaning we're whole intrinsically and inherently we're whole. There is my feelings are a product of my past and my nervous system, my personality, my experiences, those kind of things, right? This means sovereignty as wholeness. So when we're in a communication and we say, you make me feel, what we're doing there, I'm going to draw another person over here. Yeah, what we're doing is if this is me and I'm saying that, hey, person B, we'll call this person B. B. Person B, you made me feel a feeling, like, they do a jig, they dance, and I have a feeling show up, which is like anxiety, because that seems to be uncomfortable to me. That is a displacement of one's power and one's personal sovereignty, because the feeling didn't originate over here and then they gave it to me. The feeling originated in here. It arose within me as a response to a stimulus. So the stimulus is this person dancing. Yeah, I'm out doing my jiggy jig. And I'm like, oh goodness, oh, this is uncomfortable for me. And now, a lot of times what people tend to do is the brain tends to think, oh, person B is making me feel this. And that's where this statement, you make me feel, comes from. It is a misunderstanding about how feelings, sensations, and thoughts arise in the body or in the awareness. See, in everyone's experience, there's this thing called context. Okay? And in this example, my context, and there's 3 elements to context: past, present, and future hopes. Okay? So in the past, let's say I had an experience with a different person. Person C, from the past, we'll call him Percy, did a jig and then humiliated me by dragging me into it without my consent. And so now my nervous system is like, oh God, this might happen again. This makes me uncomfortable. See? Person B's doing the jig thing isn't the issue. My context to the jig is. This is why we do I statements, because we're sovereign. It's my feeling. It's my emotion. It's arising within me because of my personal context. And if I'm going to have integrity, and I'm going to be accountable and responsible and have my power, I have to own my context, which means I have to own the feeling. This is why we use I statements, because they're ours. They're not theirs. They're not causing the feeling. The feeling is arising in response to their behavior. That doesn't mean that the feeling doesn't matter. That doesn't mean that the behavior is tolerable. So, if we are, let's see, I'm going to open, man, this program's really limited. So if I come down here, martial art, yay, no. So I gotta find a different program here. All right. So if I'm in an active experience with someone may, person B again. I'm over here. This is myself. Yeah. And then me, right? And they do something they take an action. They impose something on me, like they steal something from me, for instance. And I have a feeling come up inside me that, hey, that hurt me. That's justified. That's understandable. But if person B is just doing their jig, and I'm having this anxiety over here, I don't need to tell them to stop. Because this is an emotional reaction to something from my past, not something that's actually violating my well-being. Let me know in the comments if this is making sense, because that matters to me. So, this is why we have I statements, because they are our feelings. Plus, when we are, God, sorry guys, I am just getting used to this little approach of mine. Yeah, there we go. So, another thing when it comes to I statements is it keeps us in our power. So, I statements equal power, ownership, and responsibility. We're able to take care of ourselves. I'm going to switch this back to the normal view now. We're able to take care of ourselves. We're able to advocate for ourselves. We're able to say, hey, I feel this way about this thing. And then we can create comprehension. That's the goal of healthy communication, is comprehension. And I statements keep us out of the blame game, where we're not hurting someone else because of how we feel, or making them responsible for something that isn't intrinsically theirs. It's ours. See? As an adult, I'm responsible for the regulation and management of my emotions. I'm responsible for the regulation and management of my desires. I'm responsible for the regulation and management of my choices and my actions. Those are the 4 principles of ownership. Those are our core boundaries. Those are the limits that help us understand where our territory is. Others are intrinsically responsible for their feelings, their desires, their choices, their actions as well. So when I am confronting someone on something, or I'm sharing something, and I own it, because it's a respect to my feelings, it's a respect to me, it's a respect to them, because it keeps the boundaries clear. It doesn't muddle things with blame or blame shifting. It doesn't muddle things with you made me statements. I statements are a function of respect, emotional ownership, and maturity, because they are intrinsically yours. That way you can keep power in them, and you can manage them despite what the other person does. Because one thing that's a real challenge for us, especially in codependency, is we think the other person's responsible for making us feel better. They are not responsible for making us feel better. We are. What we want to do is find out if they'll make a repair, if they'll hear us, if they'll understand us. And if they don't, then we have truth, we have honesty that we can then make future decisions on regarding how we interact with this person. That's why ownership is mandatory, and this is why I statements aren't just a thing to like get around it, or just this annoying technique in communication. It's fundamental because it keeps us in ownership. It keeps power where it needs to be, and it allows people to show up honestly. That's the goal. We want an honest experience so we can make honest choices and consent to honest agreements and face honest outcomes. That way we have safety and security in the relationship. Hi, Robin. Yeah, thank you. Good, yeah. Because the differentiation really, really matters. My feelings, your feelings. Their behavior, your behavior. When it comes to impact, it comes to behavior. It doesn't come to an attribute of the person. It doesn't come to a reference of their body or their personality or blah, blah, blah. It comes to the impact. It comes to the behavior. So, hey, I feel this when you say it this way is a valid thing because the behavior was they said a thing a certain way. And the other person be like, well, you're going to have to live with it. Now you know that you're not going to have an effective communication there. You're just going to have to live with it. Now you make some choices about that and move forward. This also keeps us out of the game of trying to change the other person. Because if we're going towards an honest understanding of the person, then it's just like, well, that's what you choose to be. Now I've got some options to choose from. Either I can live with it and hate it, live with it and like it, or move on. Because we do not have any intrinsic right to try to change anybody. That comes to this personal sovereignty. People have the right to choose to be the way they are. They don't have the right to choose the consequences. They inherit those by the choices they make. But we have no business getting involved in trying to change someone else. Our job is to understand them, make an honest choice, or have an honest experience and then make an honest choice that aligns us with our well-being and our happiness. This means you're going to rub, that there's going to be friction with people. This is where incompatibility becomes apparent. This is where, it's going to be incompatibility. It's also where you discover compatibility, because people who want to get to know you, want to keep you in their lives, are going to work towards understanding you. They're going to work, and you're going to work towards understanding them, because this is bilateral. This is a reciprocal experience. We're both working towards understanding, and the respect of personal sovereignty and the function of I statements, rather than you this and you that, you make me feel, you made me do, it keeps us honest. It keeps us in a genuine experience so that we can have an honest experience. So, yeah, that's why I statements. They're not there as an annoyance. When I learned, when I was going through communications training and they brought up the I statements, I was really annoyed. Like, oh God, I statements, why do I have to do that? Because they make me feel, no. They didn't teach me this. This is something I actually dug into myself, and through my own growth and healing, came to understand the importance of personal sovereignty, despite my agreement or disagreement with how the person chooses to show up. Respect isn't I agree with you. Respect is I acknowledge your power and right to choose to be the way you are. And I also acknowledge the power and right to choose to not interact with you. So this is kind of the thing here with power is it's very limited and it's very housed within inside ourselves. It's not about anybody else, because you basically have two types of power. Ooh, I can switch back to the app view. We have two types of power, so I'm just going to scroll with that. So the two P's, okay? And we go deep on this in every single strategy I work in. So the Heal Yourself strategy is about reclaiming what's called the first power, which is personal power. Okay. The Know Yourself strategy is about personal power and interacting it in the world and as who you are. Personal power and the Heal Yourself strategy is about identity. It's about sovereignty. It's about reclaiming it and learning to occupy the space of personal power. And then the relationship strategy, we talk about personal power and what's called power over. Okay? So power over is, personal power is my feelings, my desires, my choices, my actions. That's the limit of it. Because it's like the weather or trying to control cats. Good luck. Power over has two types. You have what's called influence. Ooh. And then you have coercion. Man, I hope this makes any sense on this screen. Influence is the impact I have on others that leads them to make a choice, take an action, do a thing, be away, blah, blah, blah. Me as a mentor, I have a high level of power over through the form of influence that I'm accountable for because it has an impact. Accountability equals impact. Impact equals accountability. You have an impact, you're accountable for it. What you do with that, accountability is something you receive from someone else, and what you do with it is the ownership and responsibility components of power. So that we can get into that a little later, but we have influence, so that's the impact I have on other people, and the coercion is force. This would be someone trying to control another human being, trying to make them be different, trying to change them, trying to threatening them, giving them ultimatums so that they'll change their behavior so they can get what they want out of it. It's not based on connection, it's based on control. All abuse lives in coercion. Safe relationship lives in personal power and in influence. And power is always checked by accountability. I don't know if that symbol makes any right, and my writings are like, doctor writings, but yeah. This is why we need to be mindful and respectful about what's showing up, so we can stay within our world and respect their autonomy. Respect who they are and respect who we are. And that's why we do I statements. It's based on the principle of personal sovereignty. This person, I have no right and no entitlement, and they have no obligation to me to be a certain way. Just as I have no obligation to them and they have no entitlement on me to be a certain way. This is about honesty. It's about being straightforward, direct, clear, and simple in who we are, and then communicating that in a direct, clear, and simple way by using I feel this way when you do this. I would like to feel this way and closer with you, and this particular behavior would help me do that better. That is a form of repair. And then you get the dialogue. You got to have the communication structure of you've got the communicator needs to communicate clearly regarding their own context and the context of their audience, because if the audience doesn't get it, you're failing as a communicator. 2, the receiver needs to be aware of their assumptions and then ask questions and then confirm. They need to confirm. They need to restate and confirm what they're hearing so that the other person, the communicator, feels heard and valid and seen. And then they need to build towards an agreement. If there is, and sometimes the agreement is we disagree. We don't have to make everything an amicable agreement. So that's why we use I statements, because it's about personal sovereignty. So that's today's random bits, my friends. Let me know in the comments. Thank you, Robin and Jolene. Two Robins, double Robins. Thank you for your comments. Thank you guys for your support, being here. Appreciate you. Just a heads up, we're 9 days from the launch of the Heal Yourself strategy. So check out the links above on Facebook, below on YouTube. Enrollment closes the 21st, so that's a week from Sunday, because we start the 22nd, which is Monday. We'll be going deep on healing the trauma bond. We'll be going deep on reclaiming our power, becoming more sovereign, healing our attachment, restoring safety, sanity, and self. So excited there. It's 24 modules long. Classes are taught twice on Mondays, 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And you have lifetime access to it, along with lifetime access to live support from me and students in my community twice a week. It's called Live Mentoring Hours. Happens on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So there you go, guys. Be safe out there. Enjoy your weekend. I will see you in our next week when we start working with intermittent reinforcement. We start talking about how identity is impacted, how we start to heal this. That is next week's trainings. We'll probably have 4 of those and possibly 5. We'll see. Okay. Thank you. Be safe out there. And I'll see you guys later.